Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about 2021 automotive retail website trends. So there are two ways to listen to this webinar. You can use your computer speakers, which is recommended, or you can also dial into the toll-free number that you can see on the screen here and compose the access code. So you will be able to ask questions during the webinar using the text box that you see on the right of your screen, and we will answer all the questions at the end of this webinar. I'm going to present myself. My name is Madeleine Dubé. So I've been working at Trader since more than 4 years now. I'm an online strategy consultant. My background, I studied at McGill in the program Management Internet Business, and my specialization, I'm expert in search engine optimization, SEO, online advertising, and digital strategy. And prior to working at Trader, I was working in advertising agency. I was a media planner, and I was doing the media strategy for national accounts such as Nissan, Hyundai, and GM. So the different trends we are going to address today is, first of all, the mass adoption of online shopping, and also the increased demand for personal vehicles, the importance of price transparency, and why you need to have a mobile-first design, and also how to maximize video content. We're also going to talk about personalization and how to optimize your website to make sure you satisfy the latest Google algorithm and web content accessibility guidelines. So the mass adoption of online shopping. So we saw customers' behaviors can change quickly. From one day to the next, consumer behavior can change. So Trader did a survey in which we found out that 41% of Canadian car shoppers are comfortable with purchasing the next vehicle online. And also, according to Ipsos, 38% of Canadian consumers tried a new way of shopping in March 2020. So there was a big shift towards online shopping last year. Following that, 88% of car shoppers also expect to have all the information they need online in order to do their online shopping. So what that means for your website is that you need to put as much information as possible on the details of your inventory. For example, indicate all the different options of your vehicle, the trims, indicate if it is in inventory or not. Also, give as much information as possible about pricing, financing, and discount. Provide a calculator payment, a payment calculator if you can, because consumers with online shopping, they want to have all that information on hand when they do their shopping. They don't want to contact you to have this information. And even before the pandemic, in March 2019, 43% of buyers said it was likely, very likely, that they would consider purchasing a vehicle online. And we saw in 2020, this number increased even more at 59%. So consumers, they want to do online shopping for vehicles. Unfortunately, not a lot of dealers' websites offer that feature, that functionality. And we even saw in 2020 an increase of 100% of the number of people who completed an online transaction for a vehicle. So the need is there. So what you can do for your website in order to address this new need, if you don't have a complete A to Z online transaction feature, you can also simply add a reserve button on your website so that people can make the deposit online, can reserve your vehicle online. A few weeks ago, Trader presented an event called Carology, and in this event, we presented some very interesting stats. So many years ago, nobody could predict that people would buy their furniture or the home appliance online. But we saw this behavior emerge, and now it's very common, it's a mainstream behavior to buy your furniture or your home appliance online. So we expect to see the same phenomenon for vehicle buying. So we expect people to start buying all the vehicles online pretty soon. So you need to be ready, to have your website ready for that. On AutoTRADER, we also did a pilot project. So what we did, we added a digital, a buy online badge to vehicles to indicate that it was possible to buy them online. And for the vehicles that had that digital retailing badge on the inventory, they had more views. So there was an increase in 12% of views for this vehicle. So that means there's an interest for that. It's like if you state that your vehicle are available for online buying, people will be more interested about your inventory. And also for these vehicles, they generated more leads. So people, they had more interest for those vehicles that could be sold online. And also the quality of leads was better because the increase in conversion rate was 80%. So this pilot project allowed us to determine that there's a real interest and desire for online buying. If your website offers online buying, you need to communicate it clearly on your website, because by default, people won't expect a car dealership website to be available for online transaction. So if you do have this option, clearly state it on your website. There are different ways to do that. You can have a banner. So have a big banner, a bold banner that indicates that you can shop online, and briefly summarize the step and put this banner on all your key main pages, especially your inventory. Also, on your vehicle details page, add specific call to action that indicate that this vehicle can be bought online. So here is a simple example. For a stock vehicle, we add a button that says that we can buy the vehicle 100% online. So this is very important. Also, you can test different calls to action, like for example, shop from home, where people need to know that they can do the transactions online. Also, include this feature of your website in your communication. On your website, you can have a pop-up that shows up when someone lands on your homepage that indicates that online transactions are available, but be careful if you use a pop-up. Make sure that it won't block important content and that user can easily turn off this pop-up. Also, add a video explaining your online process, your shopping online process, and add this video in all your marketing communication, especially your Facebook channel and your YouTube channel. Also states very boldly on your main key pages, again in text or with a banner, that you are open for online transactions. Also, with a study that Trader did, 51% of consumers would like to have the option to arrange for a vehicle to be brought to their home for a test drive or to have a vehicle delivery. What that means is that people are open to alternative shopping options. So if you do offer those alternative shopping options, once again, advertise it on your website. If people can do a test drive from home, add a button for this on your VDP, on your vehicle's detail page, to make sure that your clients know the option is there. So you will get more engagement. And provide as much information as possible that detail all the different processes you have in place for secure delivery, what you do for healthy measures, safety precaution. It's a way to make sure that your customers are comfortable doing business with you. And if you offer a home delivery option, state the different terms. So if the price change depending on the distance from the dealership, indicates all the detail so that people can have all the information to feel confident to start the online transaction with you. And with online buying also comes the expectation of price transparency. When people, they shop online, for example, when they shop on Amazon or even on the Tesla website, people know that the price is non-negotiable. So it's going to be the final price. So because of that, they need to have all the information of what the price includes when they make their final decision. So with online shopping, the most important expectations of people, its price and financing details need to be clear and easy to manage. So what you can do to address this expectation, you can have a full disclosure price policy at your dealership. So provide as much information as possible about what your price includes. If there are any admin fees, or if there are extra costs because a vehicle has extra accessories, detail them in your inventory. Also, if there are OEM incentives or if you have in-store rebates, clearly detail them on your inventory so that people can know what the rebates is, what the extra costs are. And if you can have a payment calculator, make sure you have both options for finance and lease. and also have option to include the sales taxes in the calculation. And also the OEM incentive for financing rate and lease rate be also included in the final calculation. And to make it easier for your customer, if you can have this payment calculator to be dynamic so that people can see the result in real time, it will enhance the customer experience. Here's an example of how you can display price details on your VDP. So here we see there's this car. There was extra pricing because of extra accessories, add-ons. So we see an extra line to detail those. It's also a good way to generate interest for this vehicle because people will be curious. They will want to know more about this car. Here's another example. If you have any extra fees or aesthetics fees, you can display them just below the price with a little disclaimer so that people don't have any surprise. They won't feel there is any hidden fee. So it will increase the trust that your customers will have with you. And if you have special rebates or if there are any special OEM incentives, it's always a good branding practice, a good merchandising practice to have them as a banner, as an overlay on the first image of your vehicle. So it will really attract attention and you will get an impact with this. And if you have a price transparency policy, it's also good to include this in your marketing communication. If you are doing any paid ads, for example, Google ads, you have control on what the text will show up in the ads, so include information about your price. Usually in organic results, we rarely see price information in the titles, but with Google ads, you can do that. So you have a good opportunity to display your price. And also, if people can do online transaction on your website, include it in the communication in your advertising. You will get more engagement. And also, since last year, we saw a big increase in demand for personal vehicles. So just according to a study that Trader did, 28% of respondents stated that since the pandemic, they have purchased or plan to purchase a vehicle. One of the main reasons is because they want to protect themselves and their families. And also we saw a big drop in transit usage by up to 90%. And what's interesting is that we see a new category of car buyers that have entered the market since the pandemic. This category is younger, more urban, and more interested in electrified vehicles. And also this is a generation that grew up with social media, they spend all of their life online. So it's very important to address this new category of buyer. And here on the right, we see other stats from Google. What's interesting is that we see now that the number of dealer visits is 1. What that means is that most people have completed all the decision process online. And when they visit the store, it's because they have made their decision. So that's why you need to put as much information as possible online so that people can complete all the decision process before they come to visit you in your dealership. Here we have other stats that show how there's an increase in demand for personal vehicles. So we see on the left side, there's a graph that shows the trends in searches in Google for vehicle ownership. So we saw a drop in March, but after that, year over year, we saw an increase, and this increase is sustained. So it's almost 20% more year over year, so 17.9. So we see there's an increase in demand for personal vehicle, and this increase in demand seems there to stay. And why consumers prefer online research? First of all, it's because it's easier. There's more information online, it's easier to compare cars, you can see image, video, description, so it's easier. And also, you can have access to independent ratings. How you can address that with your website? Well, you can, again, clearly display your offers, but if you have the option to display third-party reviews on your VDP, do it, because people, that's why they like to shop online. And also make sure that your website has an easy way built in to do easy vehicle comparisons. Furthermore, people, they use a lot of social media. When they are on Facebook, on the newsfeed, when they scroll down, they always see new content showing up and they never click on next page and previous page. if you can have a similar function on your website, especially on your search result page, where the content, there's an infinite scrolling, infinite loading, so that people don't have to click to press on next or next page or previous page. It will greatly enhance the customer experience. If you can have infinite loading built into your website, you will provide your customers a better experience. Furthermore, if you really want to position yourself as an e-commerce website, as an online shopping website, you need to make sure that it's easy for people to find what they are looking for. Often people, when they shop on big transactional websites, for example, Amazon, they are used to select multiple filters and to use keywords to really refine their search. So make sure that you have a website where it's possible to select multiple filters and that the page refresh automatically based on the selection. It will be easier to find what you're looking for. Also, it's like people got used when they are using Google and they are typing in keywords. They are used that Google will predict what they are looking for and to show keyword suggestion. If you can have a similar feature on your website, you will have a better experience. Most people, when they're not able to find what they're looking for in your navigation menu, they will want to type in keyword. So if you can have auto search as keyword, you will be sure that people will be able to find what they are looking for in one click. And also you avoid here the issue that when people they start to type in keyword, they land on the 0 results page. So you want to avoid that, and with auto search as keywords, you avoid this. And now it's very important to have a mobile first design. The main reason of that is that because since March 2021, Google has changed the way it indexes websites. So now it will start to index first the mobile version of your website. So that's why you need to make sure that the mobile version of your website has all the same content as the desktop version. And Google has changed its way of indexing websites because we saw since many years a huge increase in traffic on mobile devices. More and more people have mobile devices, they spend more time on them, and they spend more time on the internet. So Google has changed the way it indexes website to address this new behavior. If you go on the Google website, there's a section for developer where they will talk about different ways, different configurations to design your website for mobile. So there are 3 different configurations. There's responsive web design. With responsive web design, you have a single website with one URL, and your website will adjust automatically based on the size of the screen. So you just have to have one way of coding the website. And this is the configuration that is recommended by Google because this is the easiest one to implement, and you have less risk of error using this configuration. You can also have a dynamic serving configuration. With this design, your website will have just one single URL, but the mobile version and the desktop version will have an entirely different code. What it means is that, for example, if you design some content for the desktop version, you need to recode it entirely for the mobile version. So it's a double of work. It's a duplication of work. You risk having some content that is lost between the desktop version and the mobile version. So it's harder to implement. Finally, you can have separate URLs. In this configuration, your mobile website will have a different URL than your desktop website. So you have, in fact, 2 different websites. Often we see the mobile version to have an address such as m.yourdomainname.com, and your desktop website will have an address such as www.yourdomainname.com. What that means is that Google will have 2 websites to index, and if your website doesn't have the proper meta tag, the proper coding to indicate to Google that those 2 different websites are part of a single and unique website, your SEO, your indexing power risk being diluted because Google would consider this a duplication of content. So this is really the most complicated one to implement, and you need to be very, very careful when you have this configuration for your website. Also, you need to make sure that if you have promo visuals on your homepage in the slider that advertise different promotion, you need to make sure that you also have a format that is adapted for mobile screen. We often see this because graphic designers, they work on big screen, and it's not always a reflex to develop the same format so mobile. So if you don't pay attention to that, often your slides on mobile, if there is special text, for example, there's a special finance rate, it will be very hard to read. And also the pictures will appear very, very small. Here's a little quiz. So what configuration is recommended for viewing your mobile website? The answer, responsive design. Video content. There was a study done by Google that was presented at Google Think Auto 2020 that 72% of people who watch a video online, they took one follow-up action. So those actions, they can be, they visited a dealership website, they booked a test drive, they asked for a price. So video really leads to action, and it's part of the decision-making process. It can help consumer move to the next step. And there's an interest for digital events online. Just as an example, when Hyundai, they launched their 2021 Elantra, they did it via a live stream. And just the teaser video had more than 800,000 views. So there's a big appetite for that kind of content. And also, with the arrival of 5G and internet speeds that keep getting better, viewing videos on a mobile is no longer an issue. If you have videos, the best practice is to include them on your VDPs and to include them in the same space as the pictures to be easily accessible at the top with your pictures. The reason is that most people, when they're browsing for cars, they will look at pictures. So you need to occupy the same visual space. You can also add the video in the description to make sure it's like that people, if they prefer to see some visuals and to have a presentation, they can click on the video instead of reading the description. Also, create a video section on your website and make sure you have text that describe the video, because Google will they like to show videos on their search results, but for that they need to have keywords around those videos. So if you have a video page, make sure there are words that describe the videos. Often we see that the most popular videos are the ones that answer frequently asked questions. If you have many clients that ask you how to pair the Bluetooth or how to configure the computer of a new car, create videos about that. They usually generate a lot of views. And also we see a lot of interest for in-depth reviews, test drives, and walk around. People, they also like comparison of vehicles. And if you can post under an individual name versus your dealership's identity, it can also help, because people, when they are using social media, they like content that comes from someone, versus when it comes from a brand, they may feel it's more commercial. So if you have someone in your dealership that can post a video online under his name, you can get more engagement. About personalization. So the biggest e-commerce website, like for example, Walmart, Amazon, when you go on those websites and you browse products, you leave the website and you come back, you will always see the last products that you saw on the website, along with recommendations with similar products. If you can reproduce the experience on your website, you will really position yourself as a true online shopping website. Here's an example of what we can do. You can show on your homepage the last vehicle that someone saw on your website, along with suggestions, but also if you have different important profit centers, like for financing or surface section. You can also, based on the people browsing behavior, you can show again to this specific customer the last section they visited. Again, what you can do for personalization, you can allow your customers to have a kind of shopping cart where they can see the viewing history so that it's easier for them when they come back to your website to do comparison of all the different vehicles that they viewed in their last visit. But also if they can create a wish list. So if they can save vehicles and create price alerts. With that, you are sure that you create an engagement with your consumer, and it will be easier for them to compare the different vehicles and to come back to your website when the specific inventory they are interested in. So the page of search results in Google has changed a lot over the years. Many years ago, it used to be just blue links. There were some paid ads at the top, and after that it was organic links. But Google, in the last few years, have developed a lot of interactive features. So you still see the ad at the top, but you will also always see on the right-hand side a card that displays extra information about the queries, but you will also see an interactive map. You will see a frequently asked questions section on the search results page. You will also see videos. You can see images. So because of all those new features that Google has developed, if you have a website that is just designed to rank organically, your organic results will be a bit lost in all this information. So if you want to stand out, to get more visibility, you need to use the other features that Google has developed. So you can buy ads, you can buy Google Ads, but you can also use at its maximum power the Google My Business listing. If you optimize to the fullest your Google My Business listing by adding product cards, by adding multiple links, description, images, even videos, you have a better chance of ranking first in the map results. So you will get more visibility in the map features of Google. Also, on your website, if you have a frequently asked section, you can design it in an SEO optimized way so that your website can also show up in the section people also ask. And if you have videos, make sure to tag them properly so that you can show up in the video carousel that Google has on the search results page. And often for small dealerships, it's very hard to rank for generic make model keywords. For example, if I do a research for Toyota RAV4, what I will see first will be paid ads from the main OEM, and I will also see ads from competing OEMs. And after that, in the organic results, I will mainly see the OEM website, I will see big editorial websites, and after that, the biggest dealership. So if you are smaller, what you can do to have more visibility for those make model queries, you can buy ads to ensure a position at the top, but you can also develop highly targeted content. So here's an example of what you can do. If you have demo inventory for a specific make model, you can develop a page just to target those queries. So it's an opportunity to show up in the first results if you do that. Also, you can have a blog section where you create blog articles that talk about different characteristics, different specs of your most popular vehicles. For example, for trucks, people often want to know the towing capacity of the truck. So you could develop articles for all your most popular truck describing what is the towing capacity of each model. So it's a big opportunity here to rank in the first positions if you do that. And also, starting in mid-June 2021, there will be a new ranking factor that Google will use to start indexing websites and ranking them. It's called the page usability. So this factor includes many metrics. Some of them are called core web vitals, which measure speed. But also, this new ranking factor will take into consideration if the website is mobile friendly, if it's safe for browsing, so you need to make sure it uses HTTPS, and also it will consider if there is intrusive interstitials or not. So by intrusive, we mean if it's hard for the user to close the pop-up, or if it's hiding important content. So you need to be very careful when you use interstitials. So what are the core web vitals? When you do a page speed, a speed test of a page, you will see 3 different metrics show up in the result. So those 3 metrics measure different things. LCP that you will see. It measures the time it takes for the page to load the biggest element of your page. So it can be an image, a video, a block of text. So you need to make sure, in order to get a good results, that the heaviest element on the page takes less than 2.5 seconds to load in order to have a good score on that metric. The FID measures interactivity. So it measures the time it takes when your page is loading for a user to be able to interact with the page. So for example, if you have a button that needs to be loaded on the page, or a widget, or a form, if you want to have a good score on that, the person must be able to use that button under 100 milliseconds when the page is loaded. For CLS, cumulative layout shift, it measures visual stability. So with this, you want to avoid that the different elements on your page, you don't want them to move when the page is finished loading. So one example of that, often when we go on news website and we start reading an article, we are reading a paragraph of text, and then suddenly this paragraph is moving down because there's some space that is being created to display an ad. So it's not a good user experience. It really breaks their experience. So CLF will give you a score based on the stability of the page. So you want to avoid that kind of behavior when different widgets are being loaded on your page and all the elements are displaced. So for a second quiz here, which aspect will not be considered a ranking factor in 2021 by Google? So the answer is forms sent from website. So Google doesn't consider conversion rate for SEO. Now we are going to talk about accessibility guidelines. So the WCAG. So those guidelines, they are part of a single common international standard for accessibility. And those guidelines want to ensure that your website is accessible for people with disabilities. So that means that all the content on your website, including text, images, videos, sounds, the code, must be usable by people with disabilities. And those guidelines are classified in under four different principles. There's the perceivable principle, operable, understandable, and robust. And for each standard, there are compliance criteria. So it goes from A, AA to AAA. You don't need to have AAA for each. You need to have at least A. So why is it important to have an accessible website? It's because that up to 15% of people have a disability that affect how they can browse the web. And it's a best practice in the web designer industry that you need to test the website under different devices, different screen sizes, to make sure it's accessible to everyone. So your website needs to be accessible and user-friendly so that all visitors can access it depending on the abilities they have. You don't want to discriminate against anyone. So here are an overview and a few examples of the type of things that you need to make sure that your website has in order to be accessible. So under the perceivable guidelines, you need to make sure that all your images have alt text. For a blind person who will use a screen reader to consult your website, the screen reader will read the text that the image has associated with it. So for your alt text, you need to have a very descriptive text of the image. And if you have videos, you need to have subtitles and an audio description. And if you present elements in a sequence, the sequence must be easy to understand. And be careful with the use of colors. If you have a very bright background with colored text on it, you need to make sure it's easy to read. So make sure that there is sufficient contrast between text and images. And under the operable guideline, that means that if a user cannot use a mouse, they need to be able to access the website with a keyboard. And if you have some content that is, for example, an automatic scrolling, the user must be able to control the scrolling, so to pause it and to go back. And also, you need to have on your page clear titles, headings, and labels, so that people clearly understand what the topic is about of the page. Understandable. That means that people must be able to change the language of the website, and also if they need to make an action on the website, like for example, filling in a form, if they don't do it properly, there need to be a way for them to know that they are not doing it properly. So as an example, if the form is not filled out properly, when there are error messages, you need to specify what is the error. Finally, robust. The code of your website must be readable by different assistive technologies. So you really need to make sure that your code is compatible with all the different reader applications that people can use to consult your website. So why it's important that your website be accessible is because there is some law in place. The legislation is different across province, but in Ontario, there's the Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and there's a deadline for your website to be accessible. The deadline is June 30, 2021. And if your website is not accessible by that date, you run the risk of having heavy penalties imposed on you. So it can start at $100,000. As for the other province, there are some law that is in progress, that is being worked on, and we expect to have all those laws implemented and to have penalties if they are not respected. So the key takeaways: be ready for the mass adoption of online shopping, because it can take some time to overhaul a website for online shopping. But as we saw in the last year, consumer behavior can change very quickly, so you need to be ready. And also make sure that your inventory is easy to browse on your website. And optimize your site for mobile. And also create engaging video and make sure to maximize the use of video. And have a personalization feature on your website to make sure your customer have a customized experience. And also maximize your visibility in the search results by using all the different features that Google offer, all the different services they have. And finally, make sure that your website respects the Wcag standards in order to be accessible for everyone. If you have any questions, there's still a chance, you still have time to ask your questions. So you just use the box on the right side of the screen. And at Trader, we offer a website solution that is called T-Advantage. So this solution is Canadian, it's bilingual, and we have more than 400 people across Canada that support the solution, so that works on it to always improve it, and you have access to experts. And also the advantage of this website solution is that we are directly connected to the different marketplaces, such as AutoTRADER and Traffic.ca for advertising. So it's a seamless interaction. On our website, they have accessibility features built in, so you don't have to worry about that. And also we are certified for major OEMs, so that you can have automatically the different incentives pushed into your inventory, including leads and financing rates. And also we provide complete transparency So we have Google Analytics 360 implemented in the platform, and we built custom dimensions and custom metrics so that you can have the details up to the VIN level for the performance of your inventory on your website. And we also have an option that is called Gold. And this option allows you to have videos on all your inventory, and also to have branded overlays on your inventory, so that if you want to do some branding, to display some OEM offers, you can use banners. And the promo builder allows you to create rules for your inventory. For example, you can decide to do a price reduction to start on a specific date and to end on a specific date. You can program it in advance. And the price builder also, it means that all the price of the new inventory that you have on your website will include all the OEM incentives. And finally, My Garage, it's an application that your customers can use to create wish lists and to create price alerts. You can book a demo of the website. There's no free for this. There's no engagement required on your end. So you can go to this address and book your demo. It's very simple. So now we can answer the different questions. Okay, so there's one question here. I do understand the need for inclusion. One thing I do not understand is the text reading ability for the blind. Is there a large market for blind people purchasing vehicles? Excellent question. And maybe they will have a chauffeur, or they may have a need for vehicles. Maybe it's someone in their family. Maybe they want to help someone buy vehicles. It's a very good question, but by law, even if people won't buy from you, you shouldn't run the risk of being accused of discrimination. So maybe if you sell very luxury cars, someone may have find it very fun just for leisure to browse your inventory. So the important thing here is that you must not discriminate against anyone. So is there another question? How can we do the payments or financing online? Because vehicle purchase is a huge amount. Usually, based on your website solution, all of that is automatic. So just as an example, how T-Advantage works is that we connect directly to database that is coming directly from the OEM, and all the calculation is done automatically. The one thing that you may need to do manually is that if you have used inventory and you want specific financing rate for specific vehicles depending on age and the price. So for that, usually you just program it manually, but usually for new inventory, it's all automatic. Every month it updates. So next question. Okay, for example, credit card limitations. How can someone pay $100,000 online? What you can do for that is that with online transaction, there's always a deposit that the person needs to do. So once the person makes the deposit, after that, you can arrange a payment plan with that person. So you can have an arrangement, with what the bank would allow and what kind of payment is optimal, but you need to secure the deposit. How can consumers watch a video on AutoTrader that has been embedded into the VDP on the main website? So how it works, if you use our website solution T-Advantage, we have a separate hosting service for all the inventory. So the video will be hosted on that server, and after that, it will be pushed automatically on the website. So it's not really embedded on the VDP. So it will be directly in the picture space. Okay, but I think what you meant is that if the video is embedded in the description, no, it won't be visible on AutoTrader. But if you use our video solution, this video will be visible on AutoTrader since it won't be embedded. It will be directly in the feed of images. So there are two options here. So I think it was the last question. Oh, I saw another question here. Will the video feature be available on AutoTrader soon? It's available. So if you want that, what's interesting about that is that it will display on both your website and AutoTrader. So it's called Video Solution. So if you are interested in this, just ask your account manager. Thank you a lot for attending this webinar today. If you have any more questions, you can always send them to b2bmarketing@trader.ca.